The United States is based on guns. Like KRS says, you'll never have justice on stolen land.
Killing someone used to be a brave action, an act of courage. You had to get close to that person, close enough to hear him breathe, then stab him. And oh boy, you better be ready for a fight, because if your first hit missed an important organ, you are the one in danger now. But hey, now any coward can hold a gun. I guess this is why so many people in Texas have guns. Oh, and also to defend their God-given land, which was in no way stolen from Mexico. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time. Where was I? Oh yeah, guns. They removed the responsibility of killing. Hey, I didn't do it. The bullet killed him. I didn't put the bullet with my hand in his head. No, the only thing I did was to squeeze this metal trigger. What happened next is no longer my responsibility. Unless you're a hunter, then you take responsibility for the kill, and more importantly, you're full of pride. Hunters, a group that should have been extinct since the invention of the fridge or farming. Why do you still exist, hunters? Just to feel the thrill to kill some poor animal? Just go to the fucking supermarket like all of us. There's plenty of thrills there as well. Look at this guy's face. Why lately it seems that all the French people look like they are part of ISIS. And don't give me the bullshit that you hunt to eat. This is no longer the 1500s or that Joe Rogan crap that he only hunts old animals who otherwise would have been killed by predators. Dude, so you basically take food away from the predator's mouth, or worse, you force it to hunt younger prey. You are fucking twisted, perverted pieces of shit who sit comfortably in a safe spot and kill a defenseless animal. Chasing a bear with 10 dogs and scaring him to climb a tree, then shoot him, is not bravery, it's cowardliness. You perverted murderers. This is not making you a tough man. This is nothing to be proud of and to show to your dumb kids. Kids, your dad is a pussy. Instead of the gun and dogs, next time you go hunting, only take a knife and then show that bear how brave you are. And as a reward, the bear will show you what thrills really are. And then there's the bunch of idiots who said they bought the guns for protection. Really? This is your excuse? You want to have a gun just because someone else might have a gun? This is the guy you are? Fighting fire with fire? Why not buy a flamethrower then? And by the way, I'm saying guy because men are usually the ones who don't feel men enough. Going back to the statistics before, it turns out that the number of guns is directly related with the penis size. The more guns you have, the less inches you have. Texans are so far ahead that their penis size is actually negative, proving that they are literally and actually pussies. Okay, Mr. Proactive guy, Mr. Protection. What would you do when someone goes into your house? Do you quickly go into your locked guns cabinet, unlock it, look for the bullets or the magazine, and then kill the guy? How fast do you think you are? Jesus, every dickhead thinks he's John Wick now. More like John Wick.
But having a gun in the house makes me feel safer.
Look who was eavesdropping again. First of all, hello. Secondly,
what the researchers found was that the states with the lowest rates of gun ownership, like Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, California, Hawaii, New Jersey, Maryland, and Illinois, all had significantly lower rates of firearm-related assault, firearm-related homicide, and overall homicide than other states, while states with the most gun ownership, like Wyoming, Idaho, Arkansas, and Arizona, had 6.8 times as many firearm assaults, 2.8 times as many gun-related deaths, and twice as many murders overall as the states with the fewest guns in them.
This is the thing, the fact that makes you feel safer doesn't mean it's true. And then let's say you are fast and you load your gun and you kill the intruder. What then? Can you live with the fact that you killed someone? What if that person was not armed?
It's my private property. It's my constitutional right.
Private property? Yes, again the constitution bullshit excuse. Is your constitutional right to kill? Why not to use non-lethal ways to incapacitate and then call the authorities to deal with the crime? Just admit that you have a thirst to kill. Don't say that is your right. And if you kill, well, good for you and good luck in killing all the friends of the guy you killed. But let's face it, in most cases, it doesn't matter if you have a gun. If someone wants to hurt you, guess what? They know that you might have a gun and prepare for this. And maybe you are the secret agent who always keeps his gun loaded, who sleeps with a loaded gun under his pillow. Okay, James Bond, just remember to take it with you as well when you shit, because your kid might find it and kill himself and then you. These careless morons who don't deserve to be parents should rot in jail, raped in their eye sockets every day by Satan himself, if he is real. And okay, let's give you the right to have a gun for protection. What about the other guns you have? Because we all know the nut job who advocates for guns is never having just one gun. No. You fucking need snipers and machine guns as well. For protection, of course. The only protection that should have been used is when your alcoholic dad came home to your white trash mom and raped her to make you. What is the point of having a gun? It will only bring more violence. And I was speaking earlier about the constitutional right. You know why is this right in the Constitution in the first place? That right was given to the people in case the population needs to be armed against a threat that the state and the army cannot deal with. In case of the enemy disabling the state protections. Or in the case where the state is the enemy. Wait a second. Thinking of it, in the USA it's kind of the case right now. But the people don't realize this yet. They are brainwashed with their social media and the TV. They are just too busy to see what other whore is pregnant with some douche on the trending page of YouTube. Emotional.
The government wants our guns, so we can't fight back.
Really? You think you have a chance to fight back? How many drones can you shoot down from the sky? The only reason that you want to keep your guns is that the NRA induced fear in you that if you want stricter gun control, your Second Amendment will be violated. And you, believing everything you hear and not doing some basic research, took it as truth. How can a country ban Kinder eggs but allow anyone to buy a gun? First of all, and most importantly, follow the money. The NRA is founded by gun companies.
We're arguing about gun control with a group that makes money when people buy guns.
They're a lobbying group. I don't know, frankly, that there's another lobbying organization that drives the debate on an issue the way that they do, and they're not doing it on behalf of anyone other than gun companies.
So anytime the NRA debates gun control, their priority is protecting the product.
Their spokesperson is a loudmouth Karen. He says that states don't even require background checks on individuals for buying guns. But the NRA is actually the one who opposes background checks and lobbies for this, justifying that it's not constitutional. The NRA opposes gun control because they want to sell more guns. Simple as that. Not because they care about your rights. They care about profits, and they label any discussion about gun control as being non-constitutional. It's like that friend who you cannot have a discussion with because he keeps interrupting you and calling you names when you question his logic. Speaking of logic, let's take a look at one of the marvelous solutions proposed by gun lovers around the country to stop the mass school shootings. Arming the teachers. Simply put, arming the teachers is one of the stupidest ideas ever, and whoever came with is a psychopath. What if one of those teachers is a psycho as well, and opens fire on the kids and other teachers? I mean, you have to admit, kids are pretty fucking annoying and most of the teachers don't like them. Imagine if one of the teachers will have a bad day and no longer be able to deal with his bored audience in his boring ass class, and he just starts spraying. Background checks should be mandatory for owning a gun. You need to prove to the world you are worthy to have a gun. You need to pass an exam to prove you are mentally solid. The truth is, the NRA should not even be involved in the discussion. They represent the gun manufacturers and guns is their product. Of course, they will not want to change their view. They will lose their income. They are subjectively biased. They come with these nonsense arguments that your Second Amendment will be infringed upon, that the government will take away your guns. They induce fear in you, telling that who knows what other rights they will take if they take your guns. And they create fear in the tiny brain of the average American gun owner. Now he starts quacking in the comment section. The discussion should be based only on data. And the data is clear. Strict gun control is needed. Guns are not toys to play with. If you want to buy one, you need a good reason. And you need a thorough background check. The same should be performed for any dangerous items or substances.
The right to own a gun is in Constitution as a last line of defense against the police.
Jesus H.W. Christ. Okay, tell me one case when police brutality was stopped by a good citizen with a gun. Just one. And you keep bringing forward the Constitution as a holy book given by some imaginary god. Newsflash, it was written by men, just like the Bible as well, but that's a different story. And because it was written by men, by default, it's flawed. And more importantly, it's up for change. What do you think the term amendment fucking means? If it was perfect from the beginning, why needing the amendments? Let me tell you why. Because the Constitution changes with the times. It took 13 amendments to realize slavery is bad. Maybe now the time has come to realize that everybody owning guns with no strict background checks is bad as well. I mean, the entire world knows it except for the United States of America. Speaking of the USA, what a stupid name for a country. Do you realize that America is a continent and there are more countries in it, right? Countries which, guess what, they are not united with you. It should be called some of the United States of America, which are so united that they all have borders and different laws. Anyway, guns. Follow the lead of the UK and Australia and Japan.
Australia. In 1996, a Conservative Prime Minister, John Howard, instituted sweeping gun control laws following a mass shooting that shocked the nation. So should we be learning from this effective example? Of course not.
I guess if we're going to go to planet X and say it's not the United States, it's some other planet, different people, different everything, I don't know. Yeah, you know, but in the real world with human beings, it's not going to work, and gun control isn't going to work.
But what the strict gun laws in Japan and in Britain and Australia show us is that stricter gun laws can make a difference in reducing mass shootings.
You want to buy a gun? Prove that you are worthy. And this applies to the police force as well. Actually, everybody who wants to join the police force in the USA needs a thorough psychological exam. I guess in this case most police stations will be empty.
Everybody want to know what the kids was listening to. And what kind of music was they listening to? Or what kind of movies was they watching? Who gives a f*** what they was watching? Whatever happened to crazy?
And in regards to you clinging to the argument that you need the guns in case the state will revolt against its citizens, I have bad news for you. It's time to realize that 200 years ago, the founding fathers didn't knew about drones, cameras and mass surveillance. Your state is controlling you without you even realizing it in your gunpowder intoxicated tiny brain.
But if I want to buy a gun, I should be able to do it with no background checks. Banning guns will not stop gun violence. Look at drugs. Drugs are illegal to own, but people still buy them.
But if you want to buy a gun, first of all, nobody is wanting to ban guns, just to make them harder to get for people who shouldn't buy them in the first place. Secondly, to take your example of drugs, if people had unlimited access to drugs, how many more people will die from overdoses?
It's illegal to have crack cocaine anywhere in the United States. Do you think if somebody really wants it, they can get their hands on crack cocaine in America?
So unless we can completely get rid of drugs, there's no point in having drug laws at all.
Let me think about that for a minute. Well, I guess effectively, it doesn't work. There are more drownings in backyards where they have pools. If they don't have a pool, there are no drownings in backyards, okay? So the U.S. has a very high number of guns. Therefore, there's going to be more chances for somebody to be killed with a gun.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's my point.
By the way, this moron is with no doubt one of the worst human beings in existence. How flawed is your logic to put at risk your life and the life of others by allowing every psycho to buy not only a pistol, but an automatic weapon as well, with no background checks, and just by justifying it's for protection?
The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun, it's a good guy with a gun.
Bam! And this is how you sell 2 guns, or even more. Because people consider themselves the good guys. Now you promote to them that buying a gun is doing a good thing. They want to be the hero. Classical sales technique for manipulation. NRA goes to the basic needs, to the fear inside us. Instead of arming 2 guys, what about being proactive and not arming the bad guy in the first place? Making it difficult to own a gun doesn't mean that your right to own a gun is revoked. It means that you can own a gun if you are qualified to own one. Just like you need a qualification from everything in this life, from driving a vehicle to operating machinery to selling medicine and doing surgery. Would you like any schmuck from the street to have a tool with direct control on your life without any proof of his competency? It baffles me how closed-minded are some of the Americans and how they cannot see the other side's argument. They just close their eyes and plug their ears and they just speak loud, holding their arguments tight to their chest.
We are not allowed to do any of that when it comes to guns because people, if you propose anything, it is suggested that we're trying to wipe away gun rights and impose tyranny and martial law. Do you know that Congress will not allow the Center for Disease Control to study gun violence? They're not allowed to study it because the notion is that by studying it the same way we do with traffic accidents, somehow that's going to lead to everybody's guns being confiscated. I just came from a meeting today in the Situation Room in which I've got people who we know have been on ISIL websites, living here in the United States, U.S. citizens, and we're allowed to put them on the no-fly list when it comes to airlines. But because of the National Rifle Association, I cannot prohibit those people from buying a gun. This is somebody who is a known ISIL sympathizer, and if he wants to walk in to a gun store or a gun show right now and buy as many weapons as ammo as he can, nothing's prohibiting him from doing that, even though the FBI knows who that person is.
The more time you take to delay this gun control, the more innocent blood you have on your hands. All of you who advocate for no gun control, because of your inaptitude to see that allowing everyone to be able to purchase a machine gun with no check, people are dying. But it's okay, you can live with it, no? You don't care that some kids are dying in schools. They don't affect you because they are not related to you. It happens to someone else, let them die. It was their fault they were in the path of the bullets. How selfish and afraid are you? If you want to keep your guns, prove you are worthy of it. Admit it. You are afraid that you will not pass the tests to keep your guns, right? Even you realize how unstable you are and that you will have no chance to own a gun if they will test your aptitude. But here's the fact. Gun violence is affecting everybody.
Gun violence costs American taxpayers $229 billion a year, or about $700 per person, and they call that a conservative estimate. For reference, that's about $12.8 million a day, every day. 87% of federal costs that stem from gun violence fall on taxpayers, mostly medical costs of shooting victims. On average, each gun-related injury in the U.S. costs $583,000 in hospitalization alone. For reference, the Orlando nightclub massacre was only one of 43 reported shootings in the United States on Sunday. For each victim that goes to the hospital, they pay and we pay. In addition, we pay $5.2 billion a year in prison costs for people who commit gun-related crimes, and we've paid $811 million total on better school security since Columbine in the 1990s.
What if someone comes into my house with a gun and rapes me? If I had a gun as well, I could protect myself.
Okay, let's take this logic. First of all, if strict gun control will be implemented, less people will have guns. Most of the psychopaths who now own guns will have to give them away because they failed the exams. Okay until now?
Yes, but they can just buy a gun on the black market.
True, but the black market prices will increase, making them out of reach of many people. One of them who could be your potential rapist. Or some traumatized white boy student who thinks to buy a gun and kill his classmates because his crush is ignoring him.
What if he comes to rape me, even if he didn't have a gun? If I had a gun, I could protect myself.
True, the schoolboy? Okay, first of all, gun control doesn't mean gun prohibition, okay? If you want to buy a gun and you pass the tests to have the permit, you can buy a gun and protect yourself. But in your situation, I'll better spend the money on a better door lock than a gun. And let's say you have a gun. Would you keep it charged and in your drawer all the time just in case something bad happens? What if your kid finds it and kills himself accidentally? Or worse, he kills one of your cats?
No, I'll keep it locked and have the key with me all the time.
Really, all the time? Even when you take a shower? And if you take a shower and the attacker gets you there and restricts you, what do? You cannot go to the gun, so what's the purpose?
Well, now you come with all these implausible scenarios. You have no idea what will happen.
Exactly, that's my point. You have no idea as well, but you decide to buy a gun anyway and to increase the risks in your life. Based on fear and not on clear judgment. And believe me, in stressful situations, it is better to not have a gun. Look at us, how different and violent and how we behave when driving. Imagine if guns will be brought into the mix in that situation. Most people fall victims to their impulses, and most of them end up regretting what they said and did in those situations. Imagine if from a verbal dispute things get hot and out of control and you just killed someone because he called you a cunt. You'll spend the rest of your days in jail. From what? From some words? Why people get so offended by words? They literally cannot hurt you. They make you feel hurt and in a certain way and squeamish, but they are no punch in the jaw. Feeling hurt is different from actually being hurt. And you know what's the saddest and ultimately ironical part? That in jail you might realize that the person you killed was right and that you actually behaved like a cunt. You can't. You want to protect yourself? Get a taser, get pepper spray, get whatever non-lethal way of defending yourself, and this way, in case of the unexpected happens, you will not have to deal with the trauma of killing someone.
I feel very offended by what you say.
Oh, poor of you. You're offended by what I say? You must feel like all of those parents who got their kids killed in the school shootings, and like all of those survivors who got injured and lost their friends just because you oppose strict gun control. But I guess that you being offended must make you even with them, no? You know what, actually? Keep the guns. Keep them loaded. Keep them under your kid's pillow. I don't care anymore. This video will not change the mind of an imbecile who already has a gun, especially if he's ready to use it, or if he's in a gang, or mentally prone to a violent behavior like, you know, a cop basically. Jesus, cops in the US are so bad. Most of them are trained to end violently a situation. Most of them are a bunch of low neuron, highly unstable and dangerous individuals, and exactly the type of people who should not even see a gun behind a bulletproof sheet of glass. But no, those are the ones who will not suffer any consequences if they kill someone. If you are a cop and you see this video and you are offended, remember that I don't give a fuck about you being offended. And more than this, you being offended just proves my point. Cops should be the first ones to have their guns taken if they fail the psychological exam. So, United States of America, keep all your pistols, keep your shotguns, keep all your machine guns and snipers, and keep them loaded as well. This way the USA can be #1 at something in the world. Murders. Thanks for watching. Support me on Patreon, subscribe and share. You have the power to make this channel grow and most importantly to make people use their brain.